the sand in the guts. We need to protect the guts as well. We have been importing aggregate material and sand in Nevis, so I believe we can do it right here as well. We are a tourist destination. We need to have our destination as pristine as possible, and we should not be messing with the beaches. And so I want time to come when sand mining here will be a thing of the past. Madam Deputy Speaker, my time is running. Indiscriminate dumping. Madam Speaker, I paid a visit the other day to the Royal Bastia Valley National Park. And I was ashamed. I see all kind of bed and fridge and washing machine and all kind of thing up in the park. That's not good enough. That's not good enough, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it's a shame that sometimes truckers get paid. They get paid to take these things to the site. And the tipping fees are so cheap. They get paid. They take the people money. And then they go and dump this stuff in the Royal Bastia Valley National Park. That is not good enough. And we are going to be championing this cause to ensure that people stop this nonsense. It must stop. This indiscriminate dumping. It's not good. And as I talk about indiscriminate dumping, I must also talk about the littering too, Madam Deputy Speaker. People must treat government property and public property like their own. If you're not going to litter your home, why are you going to litter the streets? Why are you going to litter the beaches, Madam Deputy Speaker? Treat it like you own. I mean, I am ashamed sometimes when we come down on a Monday morning for cabinet and we step off the boat there at Reggae Beach and the sight there on those beaches. It's horrible. It's not good enough. Madam Deputy Speaker, you know, every time I see this, it irritates me. It irritates me. Because here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we should not be behaving that way. If we have a clean house, you should not be going out there and messing up the beach. When people go to the beach to have their little beach parties, they leave all the garbage there. If you have a party in your house, you're going to leave all the garbage all over your house? Come on. That's not good enough. We need a change of attitude when it comes to littering. And I'm really hoping that in the future we could have our litter wardens activated and they could do some work and charge people when they litter. People must change this. And I want to make a special appeal to the bus drivers. When you have your passengers, man, don't let them throw no bottle out the window. When you're driving on the road and you're drinking a water, don't throw the bottle outside. Keep the bottle in your vehicle until you get home or you get to a garbage site or you get to a bin. It's not good. We're a tourist destination and I want the time to come, Madam Deputy Speaker, when St. Kitts and Nevis could be billed as the cleanest destination. The cleanest destination in the in the region and the world. But we can't. Yes, the AG is reminding them about the Bastia streets. We can do better. We need to exhibit more national pride. You know, sometimes I go to certain functions, and at those functions, you have bins all over the place. And people are standing up 2 feet from a bin and they still throw their garbage on the ground. Come on, residents and nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis, we can do better than that. And let us all pledge from today that we're going to do better. When we walk the streets of Bastia and Charlestown, we don't want to see any bottles and cans knocking all over the place. It's not good enough. It's not good enough at all. It's not healthy. If we want to have a healthy destination, we must have a clean destination. And so I'm making the appeal now. I'm making the appeal now, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm about to wrap up, Madam Deputy Speaker, because I see my time is almost gone. But I just want to say that, everything that we do hinges on the environment. Everything. Every decision we make. And it's going to affect the environment, whether positively or negatively. And we want to live in a destination that is healthy. And so, this ministry, we want in 2021 to continue to bring to bear all of the issues, the challenges facing us in terms of the environment in St. Kitts and Nevis. We want the dialogue to continue, and as I said, we want to take to another level where we have action. We want people to change their behavior. And I want to say that whatever we do, we've said a lot about a stronger, safer future. But I want not only a stronger, safer future, we want a stronger, safer, sustainable future. And so I'm going to add to what the member for Nevis 11 said. We're going to keep the momentum to have a stronger, safer, sustainable future. You like that? Yeah. I like it too, that's why I said it. Okay? And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I'm about to wrap up, I really want to say how pleased I am to be here today to debate, and how pleased I have been for the past months to work with the staff at the departments of cooperatives and environment. They have made me feel very comfortable. I have some very good staff, and I really want to commend all of the staff at both departments, and I want to particularly commend the director, Mr. Thompson of Cooperatives, and Ms. Earl Allen, who are here. And I also really want to say special thanks to Ms. Kizzy and Warner as well. Because, I've attended practically all of the events hosted by cooperatives, and she's the one who has been pushing me to say, you need to go, you need to give the assistance, you need to go and show your support. And so I really want to thank her as well.
Honorable Member for number 11, your time has elapsed.
Can I ask for just an additional 10 minutes? I'm wrapping up.
The question is put that the Honorable Member time is extended for 10 minutes. All those in favor? Aye. All those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And in the area of the Department of Environment, I want to also give special thanks to the Director, Ms. June Hughes. And Ms. Hughes, I am sorry that you're off your feet for the Christmas season. I wish you a speedy recovery. You've been very efficient in that department, and I hope that you recover soon, and I wish you a wonderful season nonetheless, and thanks for all of your help. And Ms. Cheryl Jeffers, who has been deputizing for her, doing a marvelous job as well. And of course, I also want to especially thank my staff at the ministry, P.S. Sharon Rattan, Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Freeman, and I think they have welcomed me very well. I think I've worked very well with the staff at both departments. I have met with the staff at both departments, and they seem very committed. And this ministry, we're going to work diligently in 2021. We're going to infuse some energy and enthusiasm in the ministry. And they have given me the commitment that they're going to work with me. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, I didn't come to St. Kitts for me good looks, I come to work. I came to work. Right? I came to work. Right? And so I have started the ball rolling. I roll up my sleeves, and I'm going to take it over into 2021. I have told my staff at both departments, don't even look at me as your boss. Look at me as the team, a member of the team. Because we're working as a team in both departments and at that ministry. We're working as a team, and I believe we're going to move forward well. I know it is a new ministry. We will have our little issues, and I'm expecting us We're a new ministry. We're a small ministry. But we will have an impact. I intend for us to have an impact with the support of the staff, the very committed staff that I have at both departments and at the ministry. And of course, I want as well to just say thank you to my cabinet colleagues for tolerating me so far for the year. There have been some wonderful cabinet colleagues, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I want to thank you all for the support. I look forward very much to working with you in 2021 and the years to come. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, with those few words, I also wanted to thank Dr. C. Haley. She has been working very well with us in a lot of the projects in environment. I want to say a special thanks to her as well. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, with those few words, I want once again to commend the mover of the bill, to commend the budget, to commend the budget address under the theme Fortitude During the Pandemic, Resilience, Recovery, and Transformation. We are a resilient nation. We will recover and we will transform. With these few words, Madam Deputy Speaker, I rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member, for number 11. I now recognize the Honourable Member for number 2, Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Good morning, it's still morning. Good morning to all. I too rise to lend my support to and to make a short presentation in respect of the bill that is currently before this Honourable Parliament, shortly entitled the Appropriation Bill 2021-2020. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is really a privilege for me to be able to be here today to participate in what is a very important exercise for the functioning of our government and our country in general. And this being my, like many others, debut presentation in terms of a budget, I begin by giving thanks to Almighty God for giving me the ability to come and share and participate and be a part of this. But also, I must say thank you to the good people of Central Bastia, constituency number 2, for reposing that confidence in me to represent them here in this Parliament and to give me the opportunity to play what I hope will be a very beneficial role in the development of our country. In my initial portfolios as Minister with responsibility for education, youth, sport and culture. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not an ordinary year. And I think most of us understand it. But at the same time, I think too many of us don't appreciate that. We have faced this year, as everybody has said, a pandemic that this world has not seen before. Circumstances and economic fallouts that we've never seen nor could we have anticipated when my colleagues would have presented the budget for 2020 around this time a year ago. And as a consequence of that, a lot has changed, and we have had to change. And so, this Team Unity administration has sought to ensure that as we go forward into 2021 to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, we are put in good stead. We will have a sufficient financial basis to ensure that the people of this country weather the storm and come out on top. And so I would like to recognize the mover of the bill, our Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, for his leadership, not just in financial matters, but his leadership in running the affairs of this country. You know, I being a new member within the cabinet, the youngest member in the cabinet, just a little younger than Akilo. I sit down and I observe my colleagues. Those, I mean, you would have heard some of them talk about how long they've been in government and been in parliament. And I particularly observe the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance being, as I think my math is correct, the longest serving government, longest serving person on the government benches, post-independence era, the person who would have served for the longest period in government as a minister. And sometimes, it's not everything that he says and does I necessarily agree with or understand or get. But then he starts to elaborate and explain, and you see the wisdom and you see the experience coming out. And I have to say to myself, he's saying for training. That is the kind of leadership we have, and I must commend the Honourable Mover for that leadership and thank him for the opportunity to be a part of this team. I must also at this point acknowledge and recognize my immediate predecessor in terms of my ministerial portfolios, and that is the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honourable Sean Richards, and in other forums, my political leader within the People's Action Movement, for the foundation that he has laid over the past 5 years for me to build upon within my ministerial portfolios. When the government changed in 2015, the Team Unity administration faced an uphill battle to right the wrongs of who was there before, to address all of the neglect and fallouts that resulted. And the Ministry of Education is a very large ministry, as I've come to learn. It's a very important ministry. The Ministry of Youth, Sport and Culture, again, very important in terms of interaction with young people, as well as quite large, and I don't think some people appreciate how large it is when you think about all the different sporting facilities and things that happen within that ministry. And so the Deputy Prime Minister has really brought this country forward in respect of those portfolios and has set a foundation for me to build upon in the interests of our nation. And so, in light of what we have gone through this year, I say this is serious business. I see this as serious business. I'm here to do the people's business. I've sat down and listened to every single presentation by every single member who preceded me, because I think it is important. I think that this budget debate is important, worthy of being here and observing and listening and taking in everything. Opposition members have contributions to make, and we have to listen to everything. And so I commend the budget as presented. I share in acknowledging the hard work done by the Ministry of Finance, particularly by the Financial Secretary and her staff. I thank them for all of that hard work. And I am confident that the provisions found in this budget are not only sufficient for the needs of our people over the course of the next financial year, but that they also address those important facets of life, those important things that allow for our economy to rebound, but at the same time that allows for the less fortunate, those who have it a little harder than others, because there are some people in this country who have it hard, Madam Deputy Speaker. And so I will now touch on the ministries that I have responsibility for and give an account for what has happened and share some insight into some of the things that we intend to do, in particular for the young people of this country going forward in the year 2021. But before I get into that business, I must use this opportunity as the Minister with responsibility for sport to congratulate the St. Paul's United Strikers, the SL Horsford's St. Paul's United Strikers football team for being victorious earlier this week. I must also commend the Football Association and all of those who played a part in having what has obviously been a very successful competition. I know they were fighting quite hard to resume the league after the break as a result of COVID, because we have national and international obligations that need to be addressed as well. And so I commend them and congratulate the St. Paul's Strikers. But in doing so, Madam Deputy Speaker, I reflect on a comment made by the Senator opposite yesterday, that it was unfortunate that I was not there to give out the medals as the Minister of Sport. Well, I don't know about giving out medals. I was never invited to give out any medals. However, the Football Association did extend to me a courtesy pass to attend the matches. But Madam Deputy Speaker, as I started, these are not ordinary times. These are serious times, and we're facing a pandemic that has killed millions and that has affected hundreds of millions. And as a member of a responsible government, I took a principled decision not to attend the football finals here in St. Kitts. And I said that because just last week, this government would have made available to the people of this country some guidelines in respect of protocols for mass gatherings and gatherings in general in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Recommending caps of 100 persons for indoor gatherings and 150 persons for outdoor gatherings. Our borders are now open. We now have more active cases coming up every week as a result of that. Thank God the process is working, and so they're caught in quarantine and we don't have community spread. And I use the opportunity once again to commend our task force, our leaders, Abdias Samuel, the chairman, Dr. Laws, the CMO, Dr. Wilkinson, the medical chief of staff, and all of those other frontline workers who are ensuring that our system works, that are ensuring that St. Kitts is one of the safest, if not the safest country in the world in respect of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so it was because of my commitment to that responsibility that I think I have. It is because of that I made a decision not to attend the football finals, which, as I understand, and from the pictures, from the reports, from the videos, would have had thousands of persons in attendance. They chose to take that risk, but I believe we have an obligation to set examples, and that is what the people of Central Bastia sent me here to do, to be an example and to be responsible to the people of this country. Madam Deputy Speaker, I now would like to turn your and our attention to the ministry with responsibility for youth, sport, and culture. And through this budget, the ministry presents its strategic plans and programs for the areas of youth, sport, and culture for the fiscal year 2021. The ministry is charged with the mandate to create opportunities for social engagement, to encourage economic opportunity, to promote and protect our national cultural property, and facilitate the drive for creativity and excellence. This vision embraces social and economic engagement and transcends the ministry's usual remit. It establishes a goal of continued sustainable development within our communities while mitigating financial risks by employing fiscal responsibility. In its goal to be greater policy-driven, the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Culture has completed the National Sports Policy and Strategic Plan 2021 to 2025, which you will recall I just a few weeks ago would have presented and laid on the table of this very Parliament, which looks to forward the implementation in 2021, while the draft National Cultural Policy is also on track to be fully completed in 2021. And plans are in place to engage the Commonwealth and United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP, for the revision of the National Youth Policy 2017-2022. We will complete work that was initiated on a 5-year strategic plan emanating from the youth policy, and likewise initiate the design of a 5-year strategic plan to augment our cultural policy. The National Sports Policy 2020-2025 is intended to provide clear guidelines of how to harness the powerful medium of sports, including physical education, physical activity, and recreation, to boost the development of health, education, social cohesion, and economic development of our federation. It is hoped that the policy will guide those entrusted with the implementation of a renewed sports sector plan that will redound to the benefit of all citizens, residents, and visitors to St. Kitts and Nevis. As we look to roll out a national sports tourism campaign in 2021, and it is also important to highlight our partnership with professional sporting organizations such as the Caribbean Premier League, CPL, and the Cricket West Indies. Although no CPL matches were hosted at the Warner Park Cricket Stadium for 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that this public-private partnership will continue, and we hope it will continue in 2021 to generate significant benefits for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We look forward to attracting other professional sporting groups as well as amateur teams to visit and utilize our many top-class facilities while contributing to a recovering tourism sector. Madam Deputy Speaker, and in this light, we look forward to working very closely with our Ministry of Tourism. We know that traditional tourism, as we've known it, has taken a serious hit. But we believe that with the resumption of sport globally, that this is something that we can tap into and create financial benefits for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. In a small country such as ours, we enjoy some 6 international cricket grounds. And when you stop and think about it, all beautiful, all picturesque. When you think of Molyneux, the Molyneux cricket field, the mountains in the back, the ocean right there, looking across to St. Bart's, that is paradise. When you think about Sandy Point and St. Paul's cricket facility on the coast, right next to the ocean, looking at the islands of Saba and Statia, with the volcano in the back. Picturesque, fantastic. When you go down to Verchilles, you're at the foot of the mountains and looking over the ocean again. Looking at sceneries which include our national tree, the flamboyant tree in full bloom, looking at old sugar mills. We want people to come and play in paradise. And so this is something that we look towards pushing in 2021. The introduction of the health and wellness curriculum in grades 4 and 6 at the primary school level will see the focus shift to physical education. And this is something that we have already started to roll out within our primary schools. The focus has brought about a change in the coaching dynamic. This shift in focus has allowed for a closer relationship with the Ministry of Education to ensure a more structured and effective physical education program at the primary level. As we continue our curriculum development within the Ministry of Education, we've added health and wellness as the newest pillar within our educational sector. And so it is the responsibility of the coaches at the Department of Sport to administer this program within the schools. This is no longer just PE where you just go out and you kick a ball for a little bit and you run around. This is proper coaching and teaching of fundamentals to the students within the respect of health and wellness. We have collaborations between both ministries to ensure that there's a proper curriculum, that the coaches have been trained to have their preps just like teachers have. And I must commend all the coaches within the Department of Sport. They've really taken to it and are really excited about it. They're enjoying it, and we're seeing the improvements with the students. And so this is something that we look to continue and to expand upon in 2021. While I'm touching on the coaches within the Department of Sport, one of the things that we are insisting upon is that we must facilitate our people, our coaches, to do better and to be better. And thereby, we are facilitating, with the assistance of national federations and associations, the certification of all coaches. So all coaches within the Department of Sport will be facilitated to ensure that each and every one of them have at least a minimum coaching certifications so that they can execute their duties better, but also for their own personal development. Some have been certified in multiple sports, and we love that and we encourage that, but this is something that we shall continue to roll out in 2021. In respect of the works that have been done within the Department of Sport over the course of 2020 and going into 2021, I would like to give an update on that. And you know, Madam Deputy Speaker, leading up to the June 5th elections, my predecessor and former member for number 2 was asked in a media interview, what would you say was your greatest achievement over the course of the last 5 years as a representative for constituency number 2? To which she responded, well, there was a light, it was flickering down the garden, so I changed the bulb. That was the level of representation that Central Bastia had over the past 10 years. Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm happy to report to this Parliament that just this week, work would have started on the complete renovation of the pavilion down at the Gardens playing field, where they'll get a brand new roof, brand new lighting, and a brand new paint job. In my first 6 months, I would have done more than she did in 5 years, in her last 5-year term. That is real representation, Madam Deputy Speaker. Some say that the pastor personally picked me first. But this is more than that. This is to show the residents of constituency number 2 that this is their time now. To ensure that all of our citizens across the length and breadth of St. Kitts and Nevis enjoy the benefits. That is what this team unity brings. And so Central Bastia, they're getting their time now. But they're not the only ones. And so I turn to the Trinity Boyd's Playfield, where over the course of 2020, some $56,000 have been expended to ensure that that facility is built out as was planned, as has been promised for many, many years, but has only been actualized under this Team Unity administration. We look to the Connery playing field, and I know the member for number 8 has been on me about this. And like I said, this is not an ordinary year. And while we had great plans for the Connery playing field, those plans had been interrupted as a result of COVID and the effects of COVID. And while the intention is for this administration to build a brand new pavilion at the Connery playing field, the reality of the situation is we just cannot do it at this point in time. But it does not mean that the people of Connery are going to lose out. We've expended some $71.5 thousand to date, and for 2021, they will receive some bleachers and changing rooms so that they have some facility. We can't give you everything right now, but you will get something. The St. Mary's Pavilion in Cairn, $122,000, almost $123,000. The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture has spent and completed the construction of a brand new bleachers at this facility. Upgrades to the Sandy Point Recreation Grounds. We've completed the construction of the pavilion with changing rooms and seating at the hardcourt area. The lighting has been upgraded to include the installation of 6 new poles with an additional 2 to be installed shortly, to the tune of $117,000. The Tabernacle playing field. To date, we've had expenditure of some $1.24 million. This is a project which you will see has an additional $1.2 million budgeted for 2021 for the people of Tabernacle to get a brand new playing facility. I've been there. It is coming along well. It is looking good. I hope to challenge the member for number 7 to a little football or cricket match when it is completed. The Virtuals play field would have received brand new state-of-the-art LED lights, a project which was valued at over some $100,000 plus dollars. But that project has been completed. I see the member for number 5 watching me. We are engaged in Skeleton to ensure that the lights are connected quite shortly. Yeah, it costs more than that. And then we look at general upgrades to sporting facilities around the island. Another $135,000 plus. Repairs to the St. Peter's Pavilion. Removal, installation, basketball backboards around the island. As a matter of fact, the Limekeel play field would have just received new basketball backboards, something that the member for number 3 had been on me for some time, but they have it now. The Gardens playing field would have been the most recent to get the new adjustable backboards and poles, something that we hope will assist in the development of basketball in that particular community and the Irish Town Primary School, as we look to get yet another basketball team back in the top division at Scarborough. Electrical works at Warner Park, lighting at Kim Collins, and other works to the Molyneux facility and Basketball City. Madam Deputy Speaker, I now transition to the Department of Youth Empowerment, which continues to enjoy numerous successes as its programs evolve to meet the needs of our youth in this COVID-19 environment. Successes include the reshaping of its summer residential camp to focus more keenly on the development of soft skills in campus and the leadership capabilities of our young volunteers. Other accomplishments are the fruition of the Department of Youth's Capacity Development Program, which offers regular training and support for registered youth-serving organizations. These include first aid and CPR certification training, networking, and regular sessions of specific topics of significance to the further development of these groups. These represent initiatives which are expected to continue in the upcoming year. This is not an ordinary year, Madam Deputy Speaker, and so a lot of the initiatives that the Department of Youth Empowerment had to be curtailed as a result of COVID-19. But I must commend the director and the staff for pivoting quite fittingly and for really turning to the technology to help roll out those programs that they could. And so I must also use this opportunity to recognize PAHO, who would have provided assistance to them through some, I don't have the exact figure, but to thousands of dollars of multimedia equipment that they've been utilizing to carry out a lot of the functions. A lot of the plans that we would have had for Youth Month, which was November, could not, the traditional programs could not have been done. But they were able to put on a number of virtual events, including probably my favorite, which was the Bake Off, which I had the opportunity to be a part of and to host. I must admit that I only took on that role because I thought I would be able to sample all of the cupcakes that were being baked. But the work continues, and you continue to see the successes through the 25 Most Remarkable Teens, a project that had been started some 10 years ago, and that is continued under this Team Unity administration, where we recognize not just 25, but we recognize a number of teenagers in our country who have been doing good things. Some would have overcome challenges. Some would have done extraordinary things, but they represent just a fraction of some of the good things that still exist in our society. And we feel it necessary to continue to acknowledge those young people and those good things. Over 1,700 hours of volunteer service executed to the Volunteer Corps program. Successful execution of and support for several initiatives across St. Kitts and Nevis, including community cleanups, tree plantings, seabed cleanups, NGO support, and much, much more. The successful execution of the Youth Ambassador Corps application, selection, and appointment process. Normally our youth ambassadors enjoy travel and doing different things. Well, they can't do it under the circumstances. However, they have been doing tremendous work with young people, with the department, with other youth groups in our country to ensure that something continues to happen, that they pass on those good skills that they have to the other young people. The securing of the support of the OECS Juvenile Justice Reform Program to equip and position the Volunteer Corps program as a divergence program. Again, another opportunity, another feat achieved by the Department of Youth in the fight to maintain peace in this country. By creating avenues for young people, for at-risk youth, positive avenues for them to take as opposed to going on the road. Sometimes it's not just about spending 31 or 10 million. Sometimes it's about working with the young people to ensure that they go down the right path. And so we look forward to working with all of those similar groups to ensure that we continue this peace program that we have, and to continue the peace that this country has enjoyed because of the vision of this Team Unity administration. Madam Deputy Speaker, In an ever-changing society, globally and locally, as a federation, we're often challenged by the seeming dichotomy of leveraging of innovation and advancing technologies and the preservation of our cultural heritage. While fully embracing national culture and heritage, we're fully embracing technological advancements, the Department of Culture has sought to ensure that national culture and heritage are preserved and positioned as pillars of identity and pride, while infusing and driving new creative and culinary-driven societies. The department continues in the promotion of our culture to the hosting of the weekly radio program, for example, Cultural Steel, weekly fife playing classes, and the facilitation of folklore redevelopment. The Cowboys and Indians were revived and reintroduced during the limited Culturama activities last year and have been continued over the course of this year. The department continues to be the driver in the creation of avenues for growth within the cultural and creative sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The work of the Department of Culture in capturing the practitioners in the various facets of the cultural landscape through the St. Kitts and Nevis Creative Industry Registry has attracted the interest of both CARICOM and the European Union. Additionally, the participants involved in the Intangible Cultural Heritage, which seeks to establish a structured national registry of our cultural practices, norms, and mores, are very motivated and have significantly contributed thus far. It is hoped to continue building the momentum when the ICH is fully established in 2021. Madam Deputy Speaker, with the assistance of UNESCO, 2021 will see the development of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Secretariat, where, as indicated, we will be documenting all the fife players, all the banjo players, all of those persons who make those traditional brooms that we don't see too often anymore. Persons who have engaged in all of these cultural activities and businesses that seem to be waning off. We are trying to preserve them and to pass that knowledge, that information on to the next generation. And so that also includes musicians and other performing arts practitioners. We look forward to working closely with the new Ministry of Entertainment by sharing that registry and through the collaborative effort to ensure that our arts, our culture, our entertainment industry continues to grow, that we know where we come from, we know where we're going, and that we are able to really provide support to these industries and to these individuals. Again, COVID-19 has really hampered the efforts of the Department of Culture over 2020. The tourism sector has traditionally been a platform for a lot of our folklore groups to be able to go out and perform and to make money and to really showcase our St. Kitts Nevis culture. And that has taken a hit. But we continue to work with them. The Department of Culture continues to roll out the teaching of all of the various disciplines, all the different cultural aspects in all the different schools across the Federation. Each school in both St. Kitts and Nevis has been tasked with the development of a particular area of our folklore, whether it's masquerades, whether it's mummies, whether it's actors. That has continued. We are keeping the culture alive. I turn now to our Sugar Mass, Madam Deputy Speaker. And while our National Carnival, Sugar Mass, has completely scaled back due to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, it would have presented an opportunity for reassessment and prioritization of our Carnival product to be poised to make a momentous comeback in 2021 for the 50th anniversary of Carnival, Sugar Mass 50. Carnival has been a very touchy subject, not just in St. Kitts, the entire Caribbean and the world over. We appreciate that we can't have Carnival as we know it under the COVID-19 pandemic, and so the decision had been taken very early to scale back our Carnival. Some would have hoped that we cancel Carnival, but what the Carnival Committee has been able to demonstrate is that we didn't have to cancel it. We just had to present it in a different form. And they have successfully done so over the past few weeks. And I use this opportunity to really acknowledge the new chairman of the Carnival, St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival Committee, Shannon Hawley, and her team.
Yes, they've done well.
But I can't not come here and acknowledge the work that had been started by the former chair, Mr. Noel Mills, who was really the one who started a number of these virtual events. You remember, I think back in June of this year, in an effort to provide some levity to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, he would have put on the very successful Carnival 19 versus COVID-19 Calypso show, which had attracted thousands of views internationally. To date, the Carnival Committee would have put on a series of virtual Calypso tents and would have held the quarterfinals of the National Carnival, the National Calypso competition. Those initial 4 virtual tents would have attracted over 50,000 views over the course of the 4 nights. We would have had what has been deemed as the most successful launch of Carnival just, I think, a little over a week ago. We would have had over 40,000 views attracted live to that event, showcasing from folklore to our local soca music to a very touching segment of national pride, where we had persons from both St. Kitts and Nevis showing that COVID-19 can't stop us, showing how resilient our people are, showing how resilient our culture is, and showing that our culture, our talents must prevail through the COVID-19 pandemic. And so, as we continue to roll out virtual events over the course of the Carnival season, we've said we're not going to host or participate in any mass gatherings. And it has shown that the virtual events are successful, and so I invite persons to tune in on December 23rd. I believe that is our I think that is the panorama, which will be virtual. We have groups coming down and competing from Nevis. 5 groups from Nevis.
5 bands will be taking back the trophy.
Remember, for number 9, seems very confident. We have our icons show coming up, which will be an expose on some former road match winners, and then our Senior Calypso Finals on the 29th, which will see some 20 Calypsonians from across St. Kitts and Nevis and an almost equal number of male and female participants, something that I think should be commended. The women are really showing up and showing out when it comes to the Calypso arena. In 2021, the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Culture will be focused on the efficient delivery of the specific goals and objectives of its 3 national policies. Through the utilization of appropriate data-driven programs, we will create opportunities for physically, socially, culturally, and economically healthier federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And just to give a quick overview of some of the things that we intend to do in that ministry over the course of 2021. On the Department of Youth, revision of National Youth Policy as indicated, the completion and launch of the National Strategic Plan, capacity building for the staff of the Youth Department, officially launching the SHINE program to engage school-aged youth who are at risk, embark on a business building entrepreneurship model to improve youth economic engagement. And in that respect, we look forward to working very closely with the new Ministry of Entrepreneurship, and to enhance the reach and impact of the Youth Ambassador Corps in youth development work. On the Department of Culture, in 2021, we looked to the completion of the National Cultural Policy and Strategic Plan, continued work on the full establishment of the ICH Secretariat, hosting of a National Youth Arts Festival, promoting the 4 pillars of culture: culinary, visual arts, literary, and performing arts. And I'm really looking forward to the participation of the members from Nevis in the culinary section. I know one fancies himself, but the other one beat him in a recent competition. And on the Department of Sport, to improve maintenance and upkeep of facilities, ameliorate public safety concerns at facilities. And in an effort to do that particular one, we've already started reviewing the Parks and Recreation Act to ensure that all of our sporting facilities fall within that legislative framework, to ensure that we can do the work necessary to upgrade and to keep the users of those facilities safe. Greater collaboration with national sporting associations and organizations. This is something that we really want to develop out. In 2021, we look at the relationship that we have with the Football Association and Waterpath. That is something we've already started negotiations on in terms of use. But the reality is that the Football Association has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that facility, which is government-owned. And we appreciate that partnership and look forward to really leveraging it. Similarly, we would have had a very good relationship with the Cricket Association, who has basically adopted the Connery Cricket Facility, and we look forward to establishing other relationships like that with other sport associations and even private sector entities, to take some of that financial burden off the government first and foremost, but also to encourage that collaboration with private entities, because they also have a responsibility to give back to our communities and to assist in nation building and training and capacity building for coaches, staff at the Department of Sport. Madam Deputy Speaker, I now shift my focus to what some may call the big boy in the Ministry of Education. And again, I must thank the mover of the bill and my colleagues for entrusting in me the confidence to take over a ministry of this magnitude at a time like this. The Ministry of Education plays one of the most important roles in development, not just of our youth, but of our people. And so, I think it is noteworthy to recognize that this CMUNT administration appreciates that and has put its money where its mouth is. And you would realize that the Ministry of Education would have received, I believe, the second largest budgetary allocation behind the Ministry of Finance. It would have received an additional $14 million over last year's allocation. And it would have received what I believe has been the biggest budgetary allocation to education in the history of this country. This government is serious about what it is doing, and it is serious about investing in our young people and our education. And so, as we started off 2020 like any other year, we were hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. And the pandemic is forcing the Ministry of Education to rethink the delivery of education in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Technology will play an increasingly significant role in the process of teaching and learning in the future, as we set our sights on the 2021 fiscal year. The Ministry of Education will build a future-oriented and resilient digital education system for the long term. In short, it is difficult to envisage the future of education in St. Kitts and Nevis without technology. In reimagining the future of education, it is almost impossible to do so without the information and communication technology, ICT infrastructure in place, and is widely accessible. As part of building ICT infrastructure, the Ministry of Education will continue to allocate financial resources for the procurement of devices such as laptop computers and tablets for use in the delivery of online education. For this reason, in 2021, the Ministry of Education will accelerate the primary school's computer lab project in partnership with the Ross University School of Medicine to become fully operationalized. And let me put this into context, Madam Deputy Speaker. Our school system would have shut down prematurely, just 1 week shy of the Easter vacation this year as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And almost instantly, if not instantly, the resources within the ministry reacted, and reacted in the right way. Even before. And you're right, because we were able to react so quickly because of the infrastructure that had already been set in place, because of the vision of the senior unity government and the vision of the former minister, even prior to COVID-19, the Ministry of Education, with the qualified and visionary staff that it has at its helm, embarked on a course to build out the technological infrastructure in our schools. We knew we had to go there. We were on the way. And so when COVID-19 came, it just meant that we had to pick up the pace. And I must recognize the PS, the CEO, and all the other managerial staff, all of those within the curriculum development unit, the EPD, all who have worked tirelessly to ensure that that infrastructure was in place, is enhanced, and continues to be built out. I will get to the teachers just now. But as a result of the lockdowns, we reacted and reacted well. And because of the dedication of our teachers in particular, our students were properly prepared for lockdown and for the upcoming examinations. You would have had efforts by the teachers to put together packets for students to take home with work and to be able to prepare for exams, particularly the CSEC and the CAPE. You would have had, during that period, the rollout of what eventually was the use of the MS Teams platform to provide online instruction to the students during the period. You would have had the use, and again, it shows the dedication of our teachers, you know. You would have had the use of a number of different platforms. Look, whether it was WhatsApp, whether it was MS Teams, whether it was Zoom, our dedicated teachers continued to put their students first, to ensure that those students did not lose out. And I believe that our results show. CSEC national pass rate, 84.03%, an increase of 4% over last year when there was no COVID. CAPE, 90.48 national pass rate. Our students turned out and did exceptionally well. And I'd like to thank people like the Senator opposite and all of the other teachers within our educational system, because they really were there for the students. And as I talk about that, we talk about the infrastructure. And so I want to share some information in relation to how we address that. Virtual education. MS Teams, as I indicated, has been selected by the Ministry of Education to provide virtual instruction, as it provides the necessary platform for virtual classroom instruction and is flexible enough to allow our teachers to provide instruction sufficiently aligned with our curriculum to support continued education at home. Furthermore, MS Teams is readily available to the Ministry of Education through the Ministry's existing subscription to Microsoft 365, reducing the time required to set up for use by teachers and students. The Ministry of Education undertook a survey which was sent to schools on Wednesday, March 18th, 2020, to ascertain teacher and student broadband and device needs to sustain virtual education from home. The survey also examined teacher ability and comfort to facilitate virtual lessons. Recognizing that not all homes have access to internet and or devices, a major component of this initiative focuses on the procurement of tablets for loan to students, as well as enabling internet connectivity in homes to support student self-paced online learning. Madam Deputy Speaker, I have heard some posturing and some unfortunate suggestions that the Ministry of Education has fallen short in addressing the need for equipment for the benefit of our students' online learning. The ministry did a survey. We procured some 1,800 devices based on that survey and based on the needs as indicated by that survey. We didn't just pull a number out of the air. What we did understand was that some persons did not have the appreciation of what the desired device ought to be. Some persons thought a cell phone was a sufficient device for learning, and so they would have erred by saying, yes, I have a device. But we would have gone to all of the students and we would have gotten this information, and as a result, gotten these devices. 1,200 distributed among students in St. Kitts, and another 600 distributed to students in Nevis. In addition to that, we'd have, and let me just give the figure, to the tune of some $430,000. And I want to say thank you to the USF for providing assistance in this regard. Another 400 laptops for teachers at a cost of $728,000 was spent to ensure that our teachers are able to provide the necessary assistance.
The senator got one?
I think she said she had her own computer, so you're using it over there. That has nothing to do with all the different concessions that were made available to our teachers in purchasing and accessing equipment and computers of their own. Just this week, Madam Deputy Speaker, as a result of a partnership that we recently made with the Answer McCall group of companies out of Trinidad and Tobago, I was informed by Mr. Mark Wilkin, the Managing Director of the local Carib Brewery St. Kitts Limited, which is a part of the Answer McCall group, that he has in his possession to turn over to the Ministry of Education an additional 100 devices to be shared among students in St. Kitts and Nevis, an initial contribution of 100. We expect further collaboration and more devices and more support to come from the Answer McCall group. And so I say thank you to Mr. Wilkin and the Carib Brewery as the local agents, and to the Answer McCall group. Madam Deputy Speaker, this Team Unity administration has provided free internet access to over 700 students in this country. Free internet access. So when people talk all kind of things, we need to know the facts. And I said thank you to companies, local service providers like Flow, like the Cable, who were able to work with us and to provide very low rates for us to offer these services. We're in the process of carrying out yet another survey to see what shortfall there is. Some persons would have had their own devices, the device is not working. Those who thought they could have used a phone, we're now going to capture them. Those who have now entered the system will be captured. And based on the results of that, we will embark on another exercise to get more devices, to get more internet connectivity. And guess what? We have $103, almost $104 million allocated by this caring government to ensure that we achieve those goals. Madam Deputy Speaker, when you look at what we're doing in TVET, and this is almost a very trendy acronym, as a lot of people talk about TVET. But really what it is as a Ministry of Education, we think the future. There's no better time to invest in STEAM courses, digital literacy and skills, and to enhance ICT connectivity within households and communities as we're embarking upon. Building digital skills and creating a local market for such skills will be critical for St. Kitts and Nevis to be competitive as a services-based economy, create job opportunities, and or attract digitally enabled industries to the Federation. Several major activities were executed during 2019 to 2020 academic period. Critical among them are training and certification of 17 new instructors in assessment CBQ level, the completion of the TVET Quality Assurance Manual and Facilities Audit Checklist, the completion of the PLA procedures and policy for the SKN TVET, the distribution of tools and equipment to our high schools, the start of rehabilitation of high school TVET centers. And let me touch on this, Madam Deputy Speaker, because while a lot of things had been stopped and interrupted during 2020 as a result of COVID, the Ministry of Education was able to forge forward and forge through it. And so you had civil works at the Washington Archibald High School. Cost of the renovations, $900,000. Spaces completely renovated to CVQ, NVQ, include both home economic centers, woodwork shops, electrical shop, cloth and textile shops. These are the centers that we are focusing on at the Washington Archibald School. Charles E. Mills Secondary, cost of renovation, some $976,000. Home ec centers, expand woodwork shop to provide additional workspace for upgraded tools and equipment. A new clothing and textile shop, new computer-aided design room. Virtual High School, $445,000. Home ec center, woodwork shop to include additional storage, new clothing and textile shop. Sadler's Secondary School, $394,000. New home ec center, woodwork shop to include additional storage, clothing and textile shop. Kewan High School, $452,000. Home ec center, new home management center, electrical room expanded to provide additional space for new equipment, new clothing and textile shop expanded. Gingerland Secondary, some $3.79 million to complete a new technical wing to include the following CVQ and NVQ compliant shops: woodwork, technical drawing to include computer-aided design or CAD, and cosmetology center. AVEC Center in St. Kitts, planned construction of a new, and this is for 2021, a new 2-story, 6-classroom building, expanded hospitality lab, additional administrative spaces for the amalgamated TVET institution, the National Training Institute, which I will speak to shortly. Estimated construction cost $4.2 million. Charlestown Secondary, Nevis Multipurpose Center, planned construction for 2021. New 2-story multipurpose building. Labs include cosmetology, hospitality, mechanical, technical drawing to include CAD. Estimated construction costs $6.2 million. In 2020, as a part of this TVET explosion, 55 nationals completed UE Masters with funding from the TVET Enhancement project at a cost of some $594,000. One teacher returned from the University of Guyana with a bachelor specializing in agricultural science. 2 completed cosmetology training at the DeMarie Institute in Jamaica. 14 teachers are currently pursuing degrees under the TVET project. 7 at the University of Technology in Jamaica pursuing studies in industrial technology, construction engineering, apparel design and management, electrical and computer engineering. 2 at UE St. Augustine studying agriculture. 1 studying visual arts at UE.
Honorable member for number 2.
Yes, Madam.
Can we just pause a minute for the speaker to take over the chair?
Most certainly.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Speaker. Please, in advance, accept my apologies if I refer to you as Madam Deputy. But I continue.
I will understand that, sir. And you will be forgiven.
But I continue. And on 2 students at the UE St. Augustine studying agriculture. 1 studying visual arts at St. Augustine. 1 studying agriculture at the University of Guyana. Continued training for 2021 includes assessment verification, management of TVET institutions for principals and deputies, competency-based education and training for all TVET teachers, literacy and numeracy for TVET teachers. In 2021, St. Kitts and Nevis will apply to the Caribbean Association of Training Agencies, CANTA, for approval to award CVQ. This will come as a result of the amalgamation of the AVEC, Project Strong, and National Skills to establish a new National Training Institute. The coming on stream of TVET upgrade projects, which has commenced this year, would renovate and upgrade all of these as explained before. To provide a safe and appropriate environment for our staff and children of our education institutions, and in order to improve upon the delivery of education to our nation's children, the Ministry of Education, through its project and building management unit, has engaged electrical engineers and technicians to perform electrical infrastructure assessments on 4 of our secondary schools. These assessments were completed and reports and recommendations were submitted to us. The Ministry of Education has begun a plan of action to address the issue, and as such, we've begun the process by acquiring several quotations to perform an electrical infrastructure overhaul, starting with the Washington Archibald High School. The Ministry of Finance has committed to supporting this initiative, and as such, the Public Works Department is presently in the process of contract drafting to facilitate the progress of this process. Mr. Speaker, as we continue to build out and expand on our schools, we understand that infrastructure needs to be upgraded. Our schools have been neglected for too long. And so the work has already begun and will continue in 2021, and the very budget that we're here debating shows provisions for amounts to address these issues. In particular, the Ministry of Finance has made available in excess of $1 million for the Washington Archibald High School alone to address the electrical needs at that institution. And so I say thank you to the Ministry of Finance. I move on to our curriculum enhancement process, and to give an update. In 2017, the Ministry of Education, after an extensive review of the education system, developed a 5-year comprehensive sector plan to provide strategic direction for the improvement of education in the Federation. The 2017-2021 Education Sector Plan, entitled Education for All, Embracing Change, Securing the Future, set forth the vision, mission, and core values that have guided systemic change since then. The 3 overarching policy goals for the education sector plan are to 1, improve equitable access, 2, and in partition, let me back up so it reads properly. 1, improve equitable access to and participation in education at all levels. Number 2, strengthen the quality and relevance of education at all levels to improve learning outcomes. And 3, to enhance governance, planning, and management to improve efficiency and effectiveness throughout the sector. St. Kitts and Nevis once again demonstrated its resilience when in September of 2020, it introduced a draft curriculum to primary schools throughout the country in a pilot process of enhanced curriculum on grades 4 and 6. Education leaders, principals, and teachers underwent a 2-week orientation to the enhanced curriculum in August of 2020. This was followed by the establishment of a monitoring, implementation, and support team comprised of education officers, subject coordinators, learning support coordinator, and student support coordinator, who are charged with the responsibility to provide individual support to teachers in the form of instructional coaching sessions. In addition to the support to the pilot, significant investment of over $70,000 has been made in the provision of resources to support the pilot process, including resources to support the newly introduced health and wellness curriculum. The introduction of the health and wellness curriculum has presented opportunities for renewed collaboration with the Department of Sport, as I indicated earlier, and other aligned ministries and sports organizations. This has come in the form of a much more structured arrangement with the 32 coaches of the sports department, who are now assigned to the primary schools to conduct the physical education component of the curriculum. The ministry recognizes that no one examination or assessment can single-handedly measure student progress, inform quality teaching, and provide comprehensive evidence of student learning at the individual, classroom, school, and system levels. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, as part of the pilot of the grades 4 and 6 curricula, the ministry has instituted a strengthened school-based assessment program that includes diagnostic, formative, and summative assessment, or assessment before, during, and at the end of an instructional period. Together, these 3 types of assessment create a balanced approach that are utilized to continuously monitor student learning and inform students, parents, teachers, and leaders about student progress. In a balanced assessment system, different types of student assessment are used throughout the school day and the school year to create a more complete picture of student learning, development, and well-being than a single examination or test could ever provide. Rather than relying on final tests and examinations as the sole measures of the student progress, daily classroom assessments are combined with periodic tests, examinations, and benchmark assessments to collect and compile broad evidence of student progress. Mr. Speaker, essentially what this means is that we are moving towards a graduation certificate which will be accredited and which will provide for a more holistic education experience for our teachers. Well, yes, they will have the opportunity to write the traditional CSEC exams. The new curriculum is designed to ensure that there's a more equitable opportunity for learning in the Federation, providing new subjects, which include local studies, local St. Kitts and Nevis studies, and will include more STEAM studies. And I'm happy to report, Mr. Speaker, that I have already started engaging a number of persons for us to start looking at introducing new subjects even at the primary school level. And so I am hoping that come 2021 September, we will be able to start introducing courses like coding within our primary school sector. I do note that our colleagues in Nevis have already started on the introduction of Mandarin within the schools there. That is something we hope to be able to do here in St. Kitts in 2021. In addition to that, I've already engaged the National Swim Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as the St. Kitts and Nevis Yacht Club, which will both come together in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, as well as the Department of Sport, to adopt schools such as the Irish Town Primary School, the Newtown Primary School, or Tucker Clark Primary School, forgive me, to introduce swimming lessons for students in those schools. Too many of our students, too many of our people, because I'm sure there are some members in here who can't swim, but too many of our students don't know how to swim. So apart from providing that safety net within the communities, we are also looking towards advancing in the introduction of swimming as a national sport. Just recently I would have joined my colleague, the member for Nevis 10, at Awadi Beach on Nevis for the commissioning of a in-water pool complete with lanes, which is expected to be developed. I think they have 2. They're going to develop it out to 8. And I think it is January 2021, just next month, they look forward to starting the St. Kitts in-water pool, I believe, at the facilities close to the Boardwalk Beach Hotel. As the ministry continues to pilot the enhanced curriculum on the grades 4 and 6, it is committed to providing the support to teachers and school leaders through professional development, instructional coaching, and provision of resources. For the year 2021, the following will be implemented: the commencement of the writing of the kindergarten to grade 2 curricula, the finalization of the outline for the TVET and IT curriculum for forms 1 and 2, the technical review of the already written curricula for grades 3, 5, and secondary level in the 5 core areas, the introduction of the enhanced curriculum for grades 3, 5, and Form 1 in September 2021, the finalization of a transitioning policy for students from grade 6 to Form 1, which will be entirely based on school-based assessment, and the development of a national assessment program that aligns with the enhanced curriculum. I want to touch briefly, Mr. Speaker, on our reading intervention program. The reading intervention program is designed to boost the development of reading and literacy skills in low-achieving students for whom regular classroom instruction is insufficient, so that their level of progress and achievement improves, thus increasing the ability to access the curriculum and work independently. The reading intervention program is being implemented in a total of 18 schools, 17 public primary schools, as well as the Cotton Thomas Comprehensive School. There's a total of 25 reading intervention teachers, one in smaller schools and 2 in larger ones. The lowest achieving students from grades 1 to 6 are enrolled in this program. Approximately 435 students are currently enrolled. Reading intervention teachers are working with classroom teachers to develop an individual education plan for each student who is enrolled. Students are taught individually or in small groups, depending on their needs. Sessions are generally 30 to 60 minutes long, depending on the need of the students. In terms of training, the reading intervention teachers completed a 12-week certificate course in training in the teaching of reading undertaken with the University of the West Indies and funded by the OECS Early Learners Program. They were also trained to administer the Caribbean Assessment Battery Reading, a diagnostic assessment to identify students' reading levels, their strengths and their weaknesses. Additional training in the form of professional development sessions were held twice monthly and will continue to further enhance teachers' ability to cater to the students' needs. Mr. Speaker, a center which has been doing tremendous work in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I believe has not attracted sufficient recognition, is the St. Kitts Spectrum Services Center. It is currently housed at the industrial site preschool. And this is a center which provides resources and instruction for particularly young people, students who suffer from, who are part of the autistic spectrum. The work being there is tremendous. I had the opportunity to go and sit and actually observe and to see reports on some of the students, and it is really fantastic. One of the things that I admire is the way that the parents in particular have come together to help to foster a better environment for those persons who utilize the Spectrum Center. And I'm happy to report that through a collaborative effort between the Ministries of Education and Health, that 2021 should see the construction of a brand new building in the Fort Lands area to house the St. Kitts Spectrum Services Center, which will provide rooms and resources for learning, for therapy, and to really provide that assistance that has been lacked. Too often over the course of our history, persons who have some degree of autism have been misdiagnosed, have been shunned. They've not had the opportunities that they deserve to really excel. Autism is not a bad thing. It just means that these students learn, and they learn differently. They express themselves differently. And so this is something that really has caught my attention, and I look forward to working with the Minister of Health and all the others to ensure that this project really rolls out in 2021. We would have just added to the team Minister, help me out, a health planner, and coming out of the United States, a speech therapist. Thank you, a speech therapist to add to the resources that we have here and to provide these interventions for students locally. I want to touch on scholarships. And I'm really happy that my colleague, a member from Nevis 9, really put a lot of focus on it yesterday, because I share his passion. I believe in upskilling. I believe in ensuring that our people have access to higher levels of education. And unfortunately, too many of them don't have access for one reason or another. I would have shared with my colleague just yesterday after his presentation a message from a young man who would have indicated basically the same thing that the minister would have said. When offered the opportunity for a scholarship in I believe it was Taiwan, he said it was too far. He went to a closer institution on his own and now is unable to keep up with the financial demands, whereas he could have gotten a free education in Taiwan. And so we want to continue to encourage our young people to take advantage of these opportunities. And I must say thank you in particular to the people of the Republic of China and Taiwan for the continued support. I think the minister described them as our best friends internationally. And to thank them for that support that they continue to provide for us. We have just recently had 13 of our nationals travel to Taiwan for bachelor's, master's, and PhD studies, and would have joined some 60 odd to make up almost 80 St. Kitts Nevis population of students in Taiwan studying currently. In discussions with the Ambassador, His Excellency Tom Lee, he has indicated that there's greater capacity for more scholarships to be awarded. And so I want to use this opportunity to appeal to our young people to apply, show the interest, so that we can have more persons going and taking advantage of these opportunities. One of the things that I discussed with Ambassador Lien that I'm really focused on doing is to complete a study in relation to what are those important jobs and skills that we need in St. Kitts and Nevis at the moment, and to facilitate specific scholarships to fill those gaps. One that really sticks out in mind is a scholarship to do, and forgive me if I don't know the actual technical name of it, but to do auto mechanics. But not just regular auto mechanics. Our vehicles nowadays have more computers than the laptops that we have in our offices. The technology has surpassed anything that we could have imagined. And so we look forward to being able to get at least 2 persons to go to Taiwan to study at that level. When you look locally, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs has spoken to all the other opportunities that are out there in terms of international study, but when you look at locally what this government has been engaged in to provide scholarships for our young people, you look at the SAFE program, which is funded by the SIDF, and would have provided 169 tertiary education scholarships to students across St. Kitts and Nevis. And that was just for this year alone. And I want to say something about the SAFE program. The program continued to provide this assistance to the students even during the periods of lockdown, because the Ministry of Education appreciated that despite not being able to go to school physically, the students who benefited still had needs. They still had to eat. When the lockdown was finished, they still had to travel. They still had to do things. And so we continued that outreach to them in terms of the funds available through the SAFE program. The Ministry of Education would have provided scholarships to some 48 educators in this country to achieve Masters of Education, paying 50% of the tuition to the University of West Indies. Another 174 cash scholarships to secondary and tertiary students, again with the assistance of the people of the Republic of China and Taiwan. Students at UE, UVI, United States, Canada, Cuba, Guyana have received assistance to the tune of approximately $10 million in 2020 alone from the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have budgeted for that for 2021 because we see the need, we see the importance. That has nothing to do with the 83 students who would have received $1,000 during the COVID lockdown period. These are students, local students studying abroad. And we still have tranches prepared and budgeted for to provide further assistance to them. Those are students who would have been negatively affected, them or their parents, their main providers as a result of COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, this government has saw fit to allocate some $100 and almost $4 million to education, but the investment is much greater than that. We have, through our good relationships, been able to leverage resources, as you would have heard from a number of institutions, both locally and internationally, to supplement the needs of our education sector. And so, while we say it's 104 million, it's actually a lot more than that. And that is only as a result of the good work that we continue to do in all of our various facets of government. But the Ministry of Education provides assistance even outside of education. When you look at the assistance provided during the lockdown by the bus drivers or transportation officers within the ministry, the staff at the school meals would have provided meals to task force during the COVID lockdowns, $42,000. COVID-related expenses in general was some $202,000. We would have, through the assistance of UNICEF, provided $61,000 in hand washing stations in schools across the country. Hiring of teachers for larger schools to help with the splitting of classes as a result of the shift system in September to December alone was $104,000. You have heard about some $30 million in TVET upgrades with the help of the CDB. The Dean Glassford Primary School had a completely new roof put on to the tune of some $578,000. A new school bus for the Cotton Thomas Comprehensive School at the tune of some $175,000 as a result of COVID and identifying the necessity for physical distancing and for the splitting of schools, so we had to get an additional bus. I've not touched on the continued upgrades that we continue to make in all of our schools. As indicated, the Ministry of Education has now the mammoth task of addressing the neglects to our facilities across the country over years of neglect under the former administration. And so with the help of institutions like the Ross University, we would have been able to build out some 6 IT labs, computer labs in rural schools, and we're engaging them about starting with new labs in the Bastia zone. Mr. Speaker, I must continue the fight that was started by my predecessor, the Honorable Sean Richards, in terms of identifying the most critical needs amongst our school facilities and to address these. And I'm happy that he now is the minister.
Honourable Member, my apologies for interrupting like that. Your time has just expired.
Mr. Speaker, I think I'm well on track, and so I would seek leave to have 10 more minutes allocated.
Would you prefer to ask for the full time and take how?
I'm guided by the chair, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, because I would not want you to take 10 and then, because once you go over, then it puts me in a difficult.
I'm guided, Mr. Speaker. Not a problem. So I'd request an additional 30 minutes, although I only use them.
Thank you. I think that's better. The question is that the member has requested an additional 30 minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? 30 minutes extra time granted.
Thank you, colleagues. And so, as indicated, I'm happy that my predecessor is now the minister with responsibility for public works, because he would have an intimate knowledge of those infrastructural needs in the various schools. And so just recently we would have started an increased process of collaboration between the ministries, the Ministry of Education and the Department of Public Works, to rank, the priority areas and to start the process of addressing these areas. So I can say that, for example, one of the priority areas must be the Irish Town Primary School, which has suffered some structural defects and has some serious issues that need to be addressed. 2021 will see that happening. I've already spoken about the electrical works to be done at the Washington Archibald High School. That work will expand to the bathrooms. I can speak about the work to be done at the Charles E. Mills Secondary School in Sandy Point, where the auditorium and other works will be addressed. In Virchels, you have some issues, some continued issues with mold, which brings me to the point of indicating that we have been able to put a proper system in place for regular scheduled cleaning of all of our schools across the country. That process, I believe, works out to be somewhere in the tune of $2 million in scheduled cleaning. As we roll this program out, the intention is to ensure that we don't have the issues that would have come up in the past in terms of mold, particularly in a COVID environment where we must ensure that we have sanitization in place. And so we've ranked, based on priority, the schools that need to go first and the degree of sanitization that will take place. One of the good things about all of these things that are happening within the Ministry of Education is that all of the work so far has been contracted to locals. This is how you get an economy turning over. We, despite COVID, are not just providing support to our educational system, but by extension to the economy. And so I look forward to not just cleaning the schools and the continued upgrade in our facilities, but to creating those opportunities for our young people, for our professionals within St. Kitts and Nevis in a tough time to get some work. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I ended without touching on the Bastia High School. This is something that has taken longer than we anticipated. But at the same time, I am satisfied that the delays were for a good reason. Because we must ensure that in building a school, an institution of this magnitude, that it is done properly, that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and that at the end of the day what we have is a school that will last for a very long time and that will set a new standard, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but across the Caribbean region. Despite a lot of hot air that has been blown for political purposes, we are satisfied that this is the right thing to do, and we will do it. And so I'm happy to report that very early in 2021, we will begin the work to construct the new Bastia High School at the site that has been designated to it in the Ponds area. I'm satisfied that it is a safe place to build it. I'm satisfied that the economic benefits will be tremendous, not just to that area, but to the whole country. And I'm satisfied that all who have tried to play politics with the building of that school will benefit from the same school and will revel in the successes of that school. Mr. Speaker, take it from me. You will see the pictures. And so I look forward to, with the support of the Cabinet, the support of the education sector, to ensuring that that becomes the new standard, and that that we start to thereby build out, well, we've already done it, all of our schools to get to that level. Mr. Speaker, as I wrap up, I must say how proud I am to be able to lead this educational revolution at this time. I must say thank you to the staff, that particularly within the administrative staff who have provided support to me as a new minister over the course of the last 6 months. I must also extend the same thank you to the staff within the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Culture who have done the same thing. We have a new PS who has provided support, but who herself would have benefited from the same support. I can't leave here without acknowledging within the Department of Youth, Sport and Culture the fact that we have a number of persons who will be retiring. Mr. Anthony Wilshaw, the Director of Sport. Mr. Nigel Numpy Williams, who would have provided 40 years of service to the Department of Culture as a music specialist. Ms. Julian Broadbelt, who would have served in the Department of Culture for some 30 years. I'd like to thank them for their service and to wish them all the best in their future endeavors. I look forward to a very bright 2021, Mr. Speaker. I'm excited by the new role that I've been given. I'm excited about the prospects for our people come 2021 and as we roll out all of these programs within education, youth, sport and culture. I'm excited about the expansion of our craft and handicraft and cottage industries under the craft house for which I have oversight of. I look forward to seeing persons such as Ms. Davida Sage from my constituency, a young woman who has begun her own business, making lip gloss and other things. So many, and you would have heard it, so many new businesses have sprung up over the course of this year as a result of COVID, but also as a result of the support that has been given by our government to them. And so I look forward to seeing the craft house help to develop these persons, help to facilitate a platform for them to advance, the Ministry of Entrepreneurship to provide other skills training. I look forward to the new National Training Institute, which will provide CVQ and NVQ qualifications to our locals to ensure that not only can they work in St. Kitts and Nevis, but they'll be qualified to work anywhere in the region. I look forward to the new businesses that will come out of that. We've traditionally focused on the 14 and 15 and 16 and sometimes 19 subjects, and that is good. But what we've come to learn, particularly in a COVID pandemic, is that we need to develop our TVET and our other vocational areas. Because the reality is, Mr. Speaker, that it is those persons who are good with their hands that are more employable now than those of the 19 subjects. But we have to include all in our development. We must include all in our training. Because we will get past the COVID-19 pandemic. We will get it. We'll get past it. We hear talk about vaccines and this, but we will get past it. And I believe that this budget, this financial plan for St. Kitts and Nevis is a perfect platform to ensure the success, to celebrate the resilience of our people, and to ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis is safe, both financially and health-wise, for 2021. And so, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to re-emphasize my support for the bill at hand. I want to recommit myself to the Ministries of Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. I recommit here today myself to the Cabinet and the role I play therein, to this Parliament and to the people of this country who have reposed a certain level of confidence in me to represent them and to work for them. And so I commend this bill, and I look forward to its success, and I look forward to 2021 when we're able to roll out all of these programs and projects to the benefit of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honourable John L. Powell, Member for St. Christopher 2. I think you would owe the Chair an extra thanks because you were asking for 10 more minutes. I suggested 30 and you took 12. So I guess my intuition kicked in again. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to urge for an adjournment at this time until Monday at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Mr. Speaker, as you know, today is VAT Day, and so too is tomorrow. And there are staff members who are working around here and in the cafeteria who I am advised when I walk through would want to do some shopping. While one of my colleagues indicated maybe they should not so that they'll save the money, I know that there might be some important or interesting items they want to purchase. So, you know, they can choose not to spend, but I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, that we adjourn until Monday at 10 o'clock.
May it please you good members. The question is that this Honourable House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. on Monday next. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This Honourable House stands adjourned until next Monday morning at 10 o'clock.